set up with all types of digital recorders. You know, we've got periscopes, phonetic generators, spirit box. We're going to be using, you know, breaking out all the stops. But as far as being in the place, I think it's just 2 hours.
In terms of that preparation, when it comes to technology and, of course, spiritual backup, has there been any extra preparations or any type of different preparations that you normally wouldn't take, but you do now because of this house and the history behind it?
I think just more prayer. You know, when I was talking about my brother having that experience at that one location, one thing that I always say about TWC is we take paranormal investigation very seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. But this is one of those cases where we're definitely going to be taking ourselves seriously because something very prolific happened, you know, in 1949 to a young boy, and it changed his life forever. And there's been other people that's had a lot of experiences since then affected negatively. So obviously, we're definitely going to be more serious about this and mindful.
Now, in your experience, would you say the fame and notoriety of a place attributes to the level of activity in it, or lessens it, greatens it?
Yeah, I think there's both circumstances in that. I think there was a great study done where, you know, tech college actually, they were able to produce out of mind, you know, a ghost. And I think you have to look at both things. You have to be very logical when you go into situations like this, because you can't, there's such a psychology behind it, you can't let it be embedded in the back of your mind that this is what it is, and that's how you go into it. You have to have, what are you talking about? You have to have a well-balanced manner. You have to be an investigator. And the investigator looks for any reasonable clauses revolving around a location that has all these claims and notoriety of hauntings. So you have to look for certain things. If there's knocks, if there's things, you have to look for reasonable explanations behind that. And then hopefully you can debunk some stuff. But some stuff is just so out of this world that you can't explain. You know, personal experiences. And sometimes that's all I need, honestly, that I walk away from.
So what else is going on at the house right now? You said you felt that presence at one time. Is there anything else happening?
Well, when I was there, it was back in around 2010, so it was a while ago, and I actually got a couple of voices that came through. So we got Diablo and Devil. What's the coincidence of that happening there? And I didn't even, honestly, like walking up to the house, I didn't expect much. To be honest, it's a neighborhood, it's beautiful on the outside, it's quaint. You know, but when you walk in, you're like, all right, it's, you know, a house. And you know the story and everything, but I want to know what's the hauntings. There's no actual death. Usually with paranormal investigating, you have a death, you have some haunting to go off of. So where's the reasonable, like, where's the end, you know, that type of situation. But with this, it's so more, like, sinister in nature, almost like all the priests that were there, all the energy that was taking place there, this boy, the exorcism, everything that kind of happened there for that blink of time kind of contained that energy. And I think that's more or less that we're dealing with. There's something more that we don't fully understand that's like more of a dark energy that's lingering. And I think that's what that is harvesting my beliefs.
It seems like there's a very potential terrible downside for the people who live there. I'm not talking about like legally or anything like that. In their ideal circumstance, people are going to go in and deal with this. But on the other side, if everything goes wrong and awry, they could, you know, the house could blow up, or they, you know, I mean, it just seems like there is a potential downside for the owners. I mean, obviously we hope that everything goes right, but if everything was to go wrong, I mean, and I'm not talking about like suing you guys or anything like that. I'm talking about like, aren't they potentially taking their souls and lives, you know, as are you guys, but they're the residents of the house.
Absolutely, I think everybody, whenever we go into a case, you know, the homeowners or whoever owns the establishment or whoever's around the establishment, you know, they have a choice to make. If they want us to come in and try to stir this up or try to get rid of it, or do whatever we're going to do, document it, because it can increase activity. I mean, it's done it a lot of times, but then we've had cases where we've gone in and nobody ever has any activity. So it's kind of a crapshoot. Yeah, absolutely, there's a chance.
How difficult in cases like this, and in any case in general, is it to balance the scientific and the spiritual?
I think you need both. You need to be well balanced. It's not just mentally, it's physically, it's everything. You have to know what you're doing. It's like any investigator, you go and you research. I'm big on research. I want to research. I want to know the facts. I don't want to know the legends. I want to know actual events that took place and what could possibly be causing some of the situations that's at the house.
I agree. I mean, you got to have your head on straight. You got to get the research done. You got to know what's happened. But you also, and the spiritual thing I think is on an individual level. Everybody's got a different level of what they believe and how they feel, and I think that's great. The TWC, we're all 5 very different guys. My brother's very scientific. He's a physics major. He doesn't. I think he's had one paranormal experience the whole time that we've been doing this. So he's very skeptical. So we got that in, and then we got Doogie, who gets messed with just about everywhere we go. So it's good to have that balance, like you were saying.
Right behind you, Chad.
So then, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I've had experiences, but I also want to take a very skeptical approach to make sure that I equal out every possible scenario before I say that's a ghost or this is haunted.
You guys even try to differentiate yourself. I've seen you say that you're more scientifically minded than other groups. Your group. What do you think is your most important scientific instrument? Is it the EMF meters? Is it something else?
Well, it's crazy because the EMF meters, it's just said that these things, whatever they are, give off electromagnetic fields. And I mean, we've kind of been able to corroborate that with these instruments because they'll intelligently respond sometimes. Not all the time, but there's that possibility. I mean, it's still up in the air. But I would say, we've had the most luck with digital recorders. I mean, like Nick was saying, you can have a full-blown conversation with something, not even know it, and get intelligent responses and interactions. I mean, how do you, in an empty room, like he said, how do you explain that away? So I'd say probably our favorite is probably the digital recorder. It was my first piece of equipment, and it's still my favorite.
I agree. I love the digital recorders. You can have that direct communication. But what we should start looking at is dark energy. Dark energy is everywhere. Dark matter. About dark matter. Science is actually studying dark matter with an atmosphere, with all around. It's like you're looking at it. You can't see air right now, but it's the molecules. It's certain things that we haven't figured out. But I think we're going to evolve and we're going to figure some more things out as technology develops.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks a lot. Yeah, absolutely.